So I would like to say to you that I am not, and I don't want you to, think of the protection of cow as purely a religious fanaticism. That was there in the past, therefore wanted the future. This is part of our renaissance. We accept what is good in the past. In earlier shows on the screen here, and the last words of the founder of the ISKCON, the great saint, that Varnashra Dharma is necessary. Even that, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, it makes it very clear that Varna Vyavastha, or the Varna system, the word caste is an English word which has no meaning, because actually we have two concepts. One is called Jati, which is based on blood, and used only during the time of marriages, and to see that people of the same Gotras don't get married. And the other is Varna. Varna is a division of labor. This was decided by two great rishis, Bhrigu and Bhardvaja. Both of them decided to devise a social system which will be stable and keep the society for centuries, forever, without being wiped out, as Greece was wiped out, Italy was wiped out, the pharaohs in Egypt were wiped out. Most civilizations have been wiped out. UNESCO has tabulated 46 civilizations that have come into the world. Of them, 45 have disappeared. Only one remains, that is the Hindu civilization. So Krishna says, and this is what Bhrigu and Bhardvaja did, that Varna is based on gunas, not with janam, not with your birth. If you are born in a Brahmin house, doesn't mean you automatically become a Brahmin. You can, but that is by your gunas. So Bhrigu formulated that for a society to be stable, you should divide the power of the country, the elements of power, and decentralize them. So he identified 4 sources of power. Knowledge, that is power. Weapons, that is power. Then wealth, that is power. And land, that is power. These 4 will be divided, decentralized, so that no one person will have more than one of this source of power. So if you pursue knowledge, you will not touch weapons, you will not seek wealth, and nor will you own land. That is how the concept of Jnani and Tyagi came in. And the highest order is that who is a Jnani and a Tyagi. He may be born anywhere. Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family. And he became a Maharishi. In fact, he became Rishi of Rishis. Nobody could challenge him. Even the gods were afraid of him. And therefore, even though he was born in a Kshatriya family, Veda Vyasa, the Rishi Veda Vyasa who wrote the Mahabharata, his mother was a fisherwoman. It's there in the Mahabharata. There's nothing secret about it. Similarly, Kalidasa, who became the greatest poet and a Maharishi, that poet was originally a Vanvasi in the jungles cutting branches of trees till he was adopted and became a great Maharishi. Valmiki, who wrote the Ramayana, he was also a person who was originally a gangster. He was born in a Dalit family. But there was a transformation. And ultimately, he became a Maharishi and wrote the Ramayana. Just because by tapasya you become a Brahmin, or get anointed as a Brahmin, it doesn't mean that if you break the codes of a Brahmin, you will remain a Brahmin. Ravan was a Brahmin. He was born not in Sri Lanka as Karunanidhi of Tamil Nadu thinks. He was born near Delhi in a place called Noida. There's a village even today you can go and visit called Bisrak village, sector 13 of Noida, where they put up a big board that Ravan was born here. And they don't celebrate Diwali, by the way, in that village. Having been born there, he went. He was not he was of course born as a Brahmin. But he went anyway to acquire the title of a Brahmin. He went to Mansarovar and Kailash, prayed to Lord Shiva, who gave him a boon that nobody can kill him except for one secret, which only his brother Vibhishana came to know later, which he parted to Rama, which Rama used to kill him in the end. So he went then searching where is the most prosperous part of India. At that time Sri Lanka was part of India. And his cousin Guber was ruling Sri Lanka. So he went and defeated him and became the emperor or the Raja of Sri Lanka. This history very few people know. Karunanidhi did not know this history because he was banking on British written books. And he adopted Ravan as a Dravidian king, as a Dravidian god. And while we were holding Ram Leela in the north, he used to hold in Tamil Nadu Ravan Leela. Till I had long discussions with him, and one day after I produced the Tamil version of Ramayana, the Kamban Ramayana, he became convinced and he gave up. He gave up the Ravan Leela. But he was always against Rama because he was a North Indian. And he kept on saying bad things about him. And I said, Rama will teach you a lesson one day. And that came when I was arguing in the Supreme Court against touching Ramasetu. I said, you cannot, no matter what project it is, however economically beneficial it is, Ram Setu cannot be touched. I won the case. And Ram Setu, now the government of India has declared to the Supreme Court, they will not touch it. And now, so when I was arguing this, he said, Karunanidhi said in a press conference, who is Swamy to call this Ram Setu? Did Rama build it? Was he an engineer? If so, which college he went to? Now with this kind of mistake, Rama is not going to let him go. So next day he fell very sick. And he was admitted to hospital. The name of the hospital was Ramachandra Medical Hospital. He didn't have an MBA, BS, but still. Now this is the kind of ignorance has been fed into our people. And they come in order to debase our Hindu concepts without understanding. They think that it is the Hindu terror if you say, don't eat the cow. That's a reasonable restriction. And that reasonable restriction is something that we are doing it for the sake of the country. And it is permitted. The Supreme Court has said so. Today, you know, without you knowing, a lot of medicines, allopathic medicines in the United States, draw urine of men or women from the public urinals, from the prisoners in jails. They don't tell you, but it is there if you read the fine print. So cow urine being used as medicine, why should anybody be afraid? It has been identified. The milk of the cow, which is now being known as A2, I have seen in my own eyes in some supermarkets in the United States. They are in cartons. The price is double that of the American cow. So this Bos Indicus milk has many qualities. And these are all now targeted. I don't have to give you and take your time. Just go to Google and type Bos indicus A2 milk, its medicinal value and patents. All that will come in your Google. This information is now widely available and it is being accepted. It is now being utilized. And so milk, urine, the gobar, the excreta, is converted into fertilizer, pesticide, as well as bricks for building huts, solid bricks for building huts. So here is an animal which gives you everything. Why is it that you want this to be killed? The only thing we have to do is to see that the cow, once it has lived it stops giving milk, you don't put it out on the street. The poverty in the country has made it do that. But times have changed. Now we can seriously think of giving a decent life to the cow by building gaushalas. People say it's cost a lot of money. I have told the government of India that you have put cess on petrol on all kinds of things. But one thing the Indian people, particularly the Hindus, will not object, and they are 82%, is if you put a cess on, say, petrol or some other commodity, because petrol is already too high in price, I don't want it put there, any commodity or every commodity, and say this is for building gaushalas, you will get 10 times what you need from the people of India. So this resource is not the question. The question then becomes, what do we do to get it done? I have been urging the government to bring an all-India law, and to make it really effective, I said, anyone killing a cow should be prosecuted for murder. You will be surprised to know that in 1955, the Congress party had brought a bill in Parliament saying precisely this, a national law for preventing the killing of cows, the slaughter of cows, and death penalty. And it became clear by the speeches made that the entire Parliament wanted this, particularly the Congress party. And at the last minute, Jawaharlal Nehru got up and said, if this bill is passed, I shall resign from my prime ministership. In the larger interest of India, people should have said, yes, go ahead, resign, we'll find someone better. But the climate was such that the Congress party MPs backed down, and that bill could never be passed. Recently, I brought in what is called as a private member's bill. Each member of parliament is entitled to present a draft of a bill that should be passed by the House. And it is done by ballot, because there are so many MPs, you can't give them all a chance. So there's a balloting. And luckily, mine came as number 1. I'm talking about last January. Came as number 1. So I got a chance to introduce the bill, which I had drafted already, and then ask for a parliamentary vote. So it was in Rajya Sabha. BJP doesn't have majority in Rajya Sabha. But still I said, let me see if I can persuade people to accept it. And I gave all these arguments that I'm giving you today. Surprisingly, even though my party government had asked this parliamentary affairs minister to issue a whip to all MPs of my party to say Swamy's bill is not an official bill, so you should vote against it. All the MPs said, no, this is part of our agenda, it is there in our manifesto, and we are going to vote for that bill. Not only this revolt, but I was surprised that the Samajwadi Party, which is known for its most pro-Muslim bias, fielded one of its most outspoken Muslim MP, and he said, we Muslims are being wrongly told or ascribed to be against the cow. We have no objection. Like we have asked for a ban on pig meat in our religion. You want a ban on cow meat for positive reasons. We have no objection. And Samajwadi Party is going to vote for Dr. Swamy's bill. He announced it there. Now that left the Congress, which was sitting quietly. They don't like me because I'm prosecuting their leaders and sending them to jail. Very soon many of them will go to jail. And probably their national executive meeting will have to be held in Tihar jail one of these days. So I said, what has happened to you Congress people? You are the ones, if you read the Constituent Assembly debate, Seth Govind Das, Shivanlal Saxena, Rajendra Prasad, K.M. Munshi, all these Congress tall leaders, they argued for this inclusion of Article 48 of the Constitution. And today, you have changed. Why? When India became independent, for the election symbol, Congress chose 2 bullocks as their symbol. In 1978, Mrs. Gandhi changed it into Gai and Bachada, that is a calf and a cow. And suddenly with the influence of the Italians, you have now suddenly gone to some other symbol and forgotten about the cow. I think they were stung by it, and surprisingly, Congress party also stood up and said, we will vote for your bill. It became unanimous. But then my party thought that discretion is better part of Allah. Instead of issuing whip, they came and spoke to me and said, for the larger interest of our party's prestige, please don't press your bill, withdraw it. I said, why should I withdraw it? You had already issued a whip and nobody's bothering about your whip. Shouldn't we issue whips like that? Should have come to me in the very beginning, but you didn't. They said, is there anything we can do by which you will withdraw it? I said, yes. Make the Minister for Agriculture and Animal Husbandry come to Parliament now and say that we fully agree with Dr. Swamy's bill, but we want to introduce an official bill, and therefore in July, after sitting with Dr. Swamy, we will formulate a bill which will be a national bill for ban of cow slaughter. On that, I withdrew. I'm waiting for July to come. Otherwise, I'll bring again a private member's bill and get it passed. Now, you see, I would like to say, in the end, that we Indians made the biggest mistake in 1947 in not changing the textbooks. I mean, this cow problem we are having, why? Because the fashionable crowd thinks it is funny to say that I love my beef and I am right to eat whatever I want. Sorry, you don't. You don't have absolute fundamental rights on anything. Everything is subject to reasonable restriction. You can't have unreasonable restrictions, but you can have reasonable restrictions. Like you can't have narcotics. There's a ban on that. That's not interfering with your freedom. So why is this become fashionable to make fun of those who want ban on cow slaughter? I've given you so many rational reasons why ban on cow slaughter is necessary. We have 200 million cows. Because they are not well fed, the average yield of a cow in India is just 240 liters per year. 200 million cows, an average of 240 million liters. An average Israeli cow gives you 11,000 liters per year. Now imagine if our 200 million cows started giving 11,000 liters per year after being well fed. I can swim to California in milk. That much milk we'll produce. The price of Indian milk, which is supposed to have superior medicinal quality, which is now being widely accepted, is 1/6 the price of milk per liter in Europe. Imagine that if we were able to build cold storages, if we are able to pasteurize and bottle these milks. Already in your supermarket, A2 is being sold at double the price of cows which have been brought here. Bos Indicus cows. But from India, if we can put it, pasteurize it, put in a bottle, and fight in the WTO to see that we have given so many concessions in our import policy to the European export of goods, they must agree to our export of cow milk, which will be 1/6 the price inside Europe. How much prosperity will come out of this? We will swamp out the milk production in Europe. They can eat those cows if they want. They are not Bos Indicus, so I'm not bothered. And we can export that. Soon we can produce medicines out of A2, out of Bos Indicus cow urine. That also will be more effective medicines. There are, surprisingly, the Parsi community, even today in their wedding, the bride and groom have to drink one spoonful of cow urine. And that was an agreement between the Shankaracharya of Dwarka and the fleeing refugees who came to India. He had put down 5 conditions. One of them is, you will not touch a cow, you will not eat a cow. And even today, good Parsis never talk about eating cow meat. So that was there with other religions. The Sikhs follow the same, the Buddhists follow the same, the Jains follow the same. It's only the foreign invading religions which disrespect our cultural traditions. If you allowed even those who are Muslims and Christians today, without the fear of the mullah and the cardinal from getting orders from Vatican, I'm sure that they too will fall in line. They are not particular, as I gave you the example of a Muslim MP on the floor of Parliament. So I would say, why is this? Why do I have to argue what is so obvious? It is because of your brain. It has been, the mindset of the Indian has been warped by the British deliberately. When Macaulay wrote that thesis minute on education, he said, I want an Indian who is English in manners, English in dress, willing to accept the English tutelage, but brown-skinned, Indian in skin color. So that he systematically did in our history books, that we always lost. Foreigners always came and took over India. I've given you a brief part of the history. We are the only country which did not submit to Islam or Christianity. We fought and retained our culture. We are the only continuing civilization of the world today. These are not taught to us. The valor of Guru Gobind Singh or Shivaji or the Vijayanagaram Empire or the Ahom dynasty, that is not there in the history books today. You will hear chapters of Robert Clive and Akbar and Aurangzeb and all this. But you will not get our valorous people who fought, Rani Jhansi. These are not part of our history book because the British built it that way. After independence and the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, there was no one left to challenge Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. He was an Englishman in outlook. He himself said so. And the only person I know that he ever listened to was Edwina Mountbatten and nobody else. And she made him go and file that thing in the United Nations when Kashmir had seceded, Kashmir had signed the instrument of accession and merged with India, like almost 500 other kings. he made an exception for Kashmir at her suggestion and went and filed it. And today we have that headache of Kashmir's separateness. So this brainwashing that has taken place, that has to change. And therefore, while the government is still producing and preparing new textbooks and will have new curriculums, and certainly it will require another term in 2019 to finish it and execute it. But we need, amongst ourselves, to teach our children this new history. There are enough books which are not prescribed yet, but you can use them. And these, you can go to the website of the VHS India, you will get all these references to, and change the mindset. I have a favorite story I tell everybody about the mindset. If you have 1,000 goats at one place, and one tiger comes out before them, the majority is with the goats. They are 1,000 to 1. But their mindset is full of fear. So the moment they see the tiger, they all start running. And the tiger chases one of them and converts that into his lunch. If you see strong, well-built, healthy lions in a cage in a circus, a thin, wiry ringmaster walks into that cage, closes the door, and then starts ordering these lions, climb up. They all climb up on the table. Then he says, open your mouth. They all open their mouth. He puts his head in each one of them. Not one lion bites his head off. Because from when they were cubs, they were brought up to obey, like we Indians, by this British education, to have an inferiority complex about yourselves. So he doesn't bite them. And this happens to human beings too. People used to ask me, your Manmohan Singh is such a good friend. Why is he so afraid of this Italian lady? I said, he is a Manmohan Singh, but he's a circus Singh. So therefore he will obey. He's been brought up to obey. Even if he's prime minister, sitting in the most powerful chair. This is what I think we are fighting. And to fight for the cow, in a sense you are fighting for the liberation of your mind. You are creating a new Indian who is self-assured, who is self-confident, who can look at his past on merits and choose what he wants and choose and reject what he doesn't want. Nobody from abroad or New York Times editorial is going to make up his mind. That is what the cow represents a revolution. It is our culture, but it is a renaissance that we are working for by arguing for the cow. Thank you very much.